Hello, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know who I am, my name is Shook. I make NBA DFS content, NFL content, all that good stuff. All these videos, they get posted over to Reddit, where I make updates with all the news that comes out. You can ask me questions leading up to lock about the slate. If you just want to talk about anything, I'll have that link down below. And then if you ever need to get a hold of me privately, you can get a hold of me on Twitter. Right here, I'll have that link down below. And if you're looking for more in-depth content, I will have my Discord link down below, where I player posts for cash GPPs, cores for cash GPPs, private videos, sportsbook plays for NBA, NFL, WNBA, MLB. We have MLB content as well. So I'll have my Discord linked down below as always. And then before we get into the breakdown of the slate, it's imperative to keep transparency. So I will show you my results from last season and my career results for the NFL. Last season was a 7% ROI for the NFL, and then my overall NFL ROI percentage is 8%. Nobody in the DFS industry really shows you the results, so I think it's imperative to be one of those guys that absolutely does, that you can understand that the content that I'm bringing to you is probably going to be profitable, I'm going to be profitable in the long term. That way you can hopefully trust the content that I am giving out, especially. All right, without further ado, let's get into the slate. Roster construction, as far as lineups go, I think the most popular builds are going to be 3-3, 4-2 Philly. I think underutilized builds are going to be like 5-1 Dallas Philly, 4-2 Dallas Philly, and 5-1 Philly Dallas. So I think those are going to be the most underutilized lineup constructions that are going to be used on Thursday night. And then, as always, it's you have to understand roster construction. You have to think about game script, how the game is going to be played out. You have to build your lineups, telling a story, correlation, really, really important in that aspect. So I'll do my best to go over that stuff. And yeah, let's just start off at the top here. I think, like I said, I think Dallas is really intriguing on this slate. I think those Dallas lineups are going to be really underutilized by the field here. I think Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts are probably going to be the top two highest owned plays in the slate, so that might squeeze guys like CeeDee Lamb. Well, Dak's going to be extremely popular at that price point, so is CeeDee Lamb and A.J. Brown. They're all going to be popular, but it could squeeze their ownership just a little bit. So CeeDee Lamb, obviously, with Dallas being about a touchdown dog here going into Philly, if you go look on sportsbooks, Dak Prescott's pass attempt line is like 36 or 37.5, so they're expecting Dallas to be dropping back an absolute boatload here. So everyone not going to be in good matchups, although CeeDee Lamb does have the best matchup of anyone on Dallas. I'm not too worried about matchups here with the sheer amount of volume that Dallas is probably going to be dropping back. I think that's going to trump matchups just a little bit here. So CeeDee Lamb obviously going to lead this team in targets. I think he could lead the NFL in targets this year with the amount of throwing that hopefully Dallas is going to be doing. And absolutely love him. I think if you're playing him in the captain, you're obviously going to want to be pairing Dak Prescott with him. If you're playing Dak in the captain, you're probably going to want to be pairing two pass catchers with Dak, so like CeeDee Lamb and Pickens. If you want that, go for it. Or like a Ferguson, Tolbert, Turp, etc., etc. But if I'm playing Dak Prescott in the captain, I'm always going to be pairing CeeDee Lamb with him. And if I'm playing CeeDee Lamb in the captain, I'm always going to be pairing Dak Prescott with him, etc. Absolutely love CeeDee Lamb. Has one of the he could easily be the highest scoring player on the slate. I think he's going to be underutilized, especially in the captain. So I love Lamb in the captain. I think he's a great flex play. I love Dak Prescott. I'm pretty high on this whole Dallas offense with the amount of volume that should be happening here if they're playing from behind, which sportsbooks do believe. Too cheap of a price point here for Dak Prescott. He's normally in that 10K range, so prices are going to be a little bit softer opening up the season. So I love both the top two guys here. George Pickens is going to be an ownership play for me personally. He's a tough spot here. We'll see a bit of Quinyon Mitchell. Boomer bust type play, like massive ceiling, especially at that price point. Like if he goes out there and catches like a 50-yard touchdown, he's probably going to be doing extremely, extremely well at only $8,000, but the floor is low on him. I think the way I want to utilize George Pickens on this slate is play him, if I want to be overweight to him, is play him more so in the captain, just because the floor is so low and the ceiling is really, really high. So you want to capture that entire ceiling, and it's probably going to be doing that in the captain spot. So I think if I'm utilizing George Pickens, I think it's more so in the captain. But it can't go wrong either way. But like I said, it's going to be more so an ownership play for me. If he's going to be higher owned in a tough matchup, when we don't know we kind of can project the role a bit for Pickens, but tough matchup, boomer bust. if he is going to be high owned on this slate, I'm going to tend to want to be a little bit underweight to him. If he's lower owned, then I'm more inclined to play him, especially in the captain, just with the boomer bust stuff with him. And then we get to a decision point in this slate that I think is going to be a decision point for a lot of people. Is going to be Javonte Williams. Personally, I don't love Javonte Williams coming into the season, but you can't deny he's probably going to be he is going to be the RB1. He's going to get the bulk of the work here, especially with like Blue and Miles Sanders being backed up. But I'm a huge Javonte Williams hater coming into the season, and he is projecting decently around the industry, and I'm expecting the ownership to go up a little bit. I want to use him in scripts where I think the game is a little bit closer than people are expecting. So in those lineups, you have to be careful with that. So that's the way I want to use Javonte Williams. But I personally, with how he's projecting around the industry right now, and with me being a little bit of a hater of him, will be a little bit underweight to Javonte Williams. But he is a good point per dollar value at 5.4K. I'm expecting him to be somewhat popular here. No issue with it. Personally, myself, I'm probably going to be a little bit underweight to him. Ferguson at 5.2K in a tough spot. I think if I'm playing a tight end straight up, it is Dallas Goedert, but I have no issue there. I like him more so in those Dallas onslaught builds, personally. Does have a pretty good target market share as well. Like when he's out there, him and Dak are out there, he's going to play probably 70, 75+% of the snaps. He is cheaper than Dallas Goedert. He is 5.2K. I think he's going to grade out as a pretty good value. So I do like some Ferg. Jaden Blue is just a large field tournament dart for me. Like if anything happens to Williams or if like a reporting's wrong, you could always go to Blue here. Just strictly 150 max play for me. I like the kickers, man. Previously over the years, kickers have been underutilized by the field, and it's won me a lot of money. And then we saw last year kickers starting to be utilized a bit more. I think I saw ownership around the industry around sub 20% for both kickers here. I like them quite a bit. So if they're going to be underutilized by the field on these slates on Thursday, I like them quite a bit here. And the kickers correlate great with the quarterbacks. If the quarterbacks are scoring points, those kickers are going to be scoring points with them. Now, kickers are optimal more often in lower scoring games because in higher scoring games, the skill position players are probably going to be scoring a lot more points than the kickers. But we've seen kickers can put up 15 to 20 points. It's happened before, right? So I'm really high on both the kickers. And they correlate nicely with the quarterbacks, right? So love the kickers as values. I'm not going to get the Sanders. Defense is defense. So if I'm playing a defense, it's probably going to be the Eagles defense. But if you're going for pure ceiling, because the more a quarterback is going to be dropping back, it's more opportunities for, interceptions, pick sixes, fumble sacks, etc. And that's going to be the Eagles defense going up against the Cowboys that are going to be dropping back the most. So if I had to pick a defense, it would be the Eagles defense. But let's talk about Turpin here, right? I think Turpin's one of my favorite value plays in the slate. They could use him out of the backfield. He'll run some routes. And especially he correlates nicely with that Cowboys defense, like return specialist. If he returns a touchdown, Cowboys D is going to get those points with him. So if I'm playing Cowboys D, I'm going to boost Turpin in those lineups. So I really like Turpin as it is as a value. I think he's going to be popular. Just keep an eye on the ownership. Like if he gets pumped up way up in ownership, then I'd be underweight to him. But if he's like in that teens range, I really like Turpin. I think he's like probably the highest ceiling of the values, him and Shipley. So yeah, love me some Turp. I think Tolbert's just playable. Not in love with like Tolbert and Jahan Dotson, but they are playable. And then Shoon's just a large field tournament dart for me. All right, let's move on to Philadelphia. Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, probably going to be the two highest known plays in the slate, and I don't think you can deny it, man. Dallas losing Micah Parsons. Their defense has been horrible with Micah Parsons off the field. Everybody on Philadelphia is going to be in good spots here, and with them being about a touchdown favorite at home, you can expect a absolute ton of dose of Saquon Barkley in a really good spot. There's undeniably two of the best plays in the slate in Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts. Now, they do cannibalize each other a bit. Like, if Jalen Hurts is scoring 2+ touchdowns on the ground, that's going to cannibalize Saquon Barkley. If Saquon Barkley is scoring touchdowns, it's going to cannibalize Jalen Hurts, right? I'm not going to make a rule of only playing one together, but just be careful on how you use them. I'm definitely going to have both together. I think both are two of the best plays in the slate. Absolutely love both of them, but I'm sorry if you can hear my niece in the background. A.D. Brown at 9.4K, Devontae Smith 8.4K respectively. I think are both too cheap. I'd be careful about playing both of them together. I think both of them together, getting absolute ceiling games, highly unlikely. So I'd just be a little bit careful there. I think both are great tournament plays. I think Devontae Smith is a phenomenal tournament play. Love the spots for both A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith here, and I think Devontae Smith is going to be way underutilized by the field, and especially if Dallas can keep this game somewhat competitive, and force the Eagles to throw the ball. I love Devontae Smith in GPPs. Should be going up against Bland a bit, and then Diggs, etc., dealing with injuries, etc. We'll see how he is going to be. I just be careful about playing both of them together. I think it's hard for both to have ceiling games together, and I think Devontae Smith at his ownership is going to be underutilized. So I'm loving Devontae Smith. AJ Brown could always be could be the highest scorer on the slate as well. So I have no issue with the top four guys. I think they're all great plays. I think Dallas Goedert's fine at 6.4K. I'm not going to be going out of my way to play him. I think he's more so appropriately priced, but a good play in general. I don't mind that. Does have a decent target market share when healthy with Jalen Hurts, so I don't mind that at all. But I'd rather get up to like Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown personally over like a Dallas Goedert, or down to like a Ferguson. I guess that's okay. But Goedert, always a good play. I think no one's probably going to play him. He's more so appropriately priced when you have a ton of guys that are underpriced on this slate, and Dallas Goedert's more so appropriately priced, right? We talked about Eagles defense. We talked about the kickers. Love Jake Elliott here. He's my preferred kicker. But as always, they do correlate nicely with the quarterbacks. We talked about Dotson, right? I think Dotson and Tolbert are fine plays. No real strong takes there. Dotson had just a minuscule target percentage. Like I want to say it was like 5 to 6% for Dotson. So yeah, he needs a touchdown to pay off that price point. No Mechie for me. No Dillon for me. I think Calcaterra is a little bit interesting if you want a large field tournament dart. The Eagles are probably going to run a decent amount of 2 tight end sets with how much they run the ball. Good pass catcher. So I don't mind Calc there. I think he's like a super large field tournament dart if you want one that you could sprinkle in. I don't mind that. And then Will Shipley I think is really good. I think he might go a little bit over owned though, but I think he's really good. The ceiling's just massive for him. I think, obviously Saquon Barkley's not going to have that big of a role that he had last year. Like he's not going to get 23 attempts a game and rush for 2,500 yards. We have to pump the brakes a little bit, right? Just historical year for him. So, and especially if this game gets out of hand late, you're just going to see like heavy dose of Shipley. And if they're up like 20 points in the fourth and we get like half a fourth or a whole fourth of Will Shipley, if they're up like 25 to 30 points in the fourth, he could absolutely nuke the slate. And I'm expecting he'll get worked in a bit anyway in a competitive game too. So I think Shipley's going to be one of the better value plays in the slate as well. So yeah, I'm high on a ton of plays on this showdown slate. I would say my underweight stances, and I'm not sure yet, it's really going to depend on ownership, would be like Javonte Williams. I want to be careful on how I'm playing him in game script lineups and correlated lineups. I want to be careful on how I want to play him. And then George Pickens, probably going to be an underweight stance to me if his ownership booms up a little bit, but I think he'd be a good play, especially in the captain if his ownership's tamed a lot, right? And that's really it. Like, I think there's so many good plays. I guess Dallas Goedert just solely due to the price, even though I like him. And then, yeah, my favorite values, Terp, Shipley, for sure. Terp, love Terp. Just worried about the ownership spiking up a little bit. And he correlates nicely with Cowboys D. Yeah, like I said, like correlation stuff. Like, if I'm playing Hurts in the captain, I don't think you need 2 pass catchers with him, and I'd be careful with AJ and Devontae Smith together. Like, let's take a look. When did AJ have a ceiling game? Let's go to the 15th. 15th, he had a ceiling game. What did Devontae Smith do that week? Okay, they both had a ceiling game together. Let me just check again. Let me check one more time. So maybe they can do it. I wouldn't eliminate that, actually. I probably wouldn't make a rule against that. But maybe if you have, like, a lineup with A.J. Brown in it, you just dock Devontae Smith just a little bit. 6. What did Devontae Smith do on this? 6. A decent. So yeah, maybe I'll change my stance there a little bit. Maybe you just dock one or the other if one appears in a lineup. So like, I don't think you need 2 pass catchers with Jalen Hurts. I think one's just perfectly okay. Yeah, I think that's going to do it for the slate, guys. Hopefully you guys had a great offseason. As always, so excited for the football season. And yeah. Hope to talk to you guys in Discord, on Reddit, etc. And hope you guys have a good night tonight. And that will be it for the video.